5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition, liftoff.
Welcome and thank you for joining us on the GHT Overland Podcast. This is where you get the greatest interviews and insights from overland travelers around the globe. Learning from their stories, learning from their experiences. Bouncing around the globe from Canada to South America, over to Australia, up to the UK, down to South Africa. You will learn the basics and the advanced in overlanding. So buckle up and get ready for a new adventure. I'm Chris.
And I'm Lisa. Today's featured guest is Brandon with On the Bus Podcast. That's right, another podcast on the podcast. Brandon and his crew took an American school bus from Utah to Chile. Brandon and his team decided to take their podcast on the road, overlanding in their school bus of all choices, interviewing and documenting stories of people they met along the way, sharing unique stories of people stretching what we consider normal.
Now, unfortunately, Lisa, you were absent on this one.
Nonetheless, a great interview and something different than before.
Well, thank you. It's nice of you to say. I know that we are bringing diversity and maybe pushing the limits sometimes. So let's jump into the interview with Brandon from On the Bus Podcast. Welcome to the podcast, Brandon.
Thanks, Chris. Pleasure to be on the show with you guys.
Yeah, we're super excited to have you. So fill us in on any details we missed in your intro, and then give us a little bit about you and your background.
All right. I guess I'll start with the background itself. So I'm a former collegiate and professional basketball player. I've been playing basketball my entire life. As I left college, I always did want to travel, see the world, very fond of, getting out and exploring. The game of basketball was great to me. I got to, live in Israel, play basketball in Ukraine, Poland, Canada, Holland. And then the game took me to Kuwait to coach basketball overseas. So it was really great to me. I got to do so many things. But it came to a point where I want to do something outside of basketball and outside of sports. I really enjoyed, loved listening to the podcast. Said, I want to have conversations with people. I want to explore people doing, very outside the realm, outside the normal things. So me and my co-host Daniel, we started a show called On the Bus Podcast, where we have conversations with outliers, early adopters from all walks of life. We've had people from venture capitalists to Hare Krishna monks, cryptocurrency founders, tech startups, CEOs, you name it, we've had them on the show. And then after 40 episodes, we took the show to South America, and we just finished touring up out in Chile.
That's awesome. So tell us a little bit about your background and the idea of taking an American school bus to South America. How did that come to fruition? Well,
it's a little inverse, I'd say, than what the normal overlander mentality might be.
Okay.
Hey, I love vehicles. I love the outdoors. I love just, getting out exploring and, maybe sometimes being a little bit of a recluse and hermit, being off my own. For me, I was really inspired by a lot of writings and works of, Hunter Thompson, Tom Wolfe wrote the Electric Kool-Aid Acid Test, and kind of just started off with a nickname being called the Bus Driver. And I always said, I want to start the show on the bus, and I've always wanted to get back to South America and get out there and take an actual school bus down there and, explore and get out and adventure. And that's how everything came to be with the bus. I mean, it comes to background-wise with vehicles. I mean, I've owned cars. I'm not the complete expert or master in that. Luckily, my dad has 30 to 40 years of auto mechanic practice and expertise. So he was always great to get on the phone.
That's helpful, right?
It was huge helpful down on the way, but in the end, I came with no background in this at all. But like everything else I've done in life, nothing's a 7-foot basketball player is not too big or not too tough for me to get by and score on, and a bus and all these roads in South America weren't going to be any challenge for me either.
There you go. So did you convert the bus, or was it already converted when you purchased it?
That's one of the big dilemmas we ran into at the moment of, well, how are we going to get down there? And there's a little backstory about what happened with the bus. The original bus we were going to buy, we got linked up with somebody who runs a nonprofit out of Latin America, building homes for affluent clients. Really, really interesting company. And I asked him, do you know anybody in Colombia? He had a gentleman who was in the former Colombian Navy. So before we can get to Colombia, we had a gentleman driving up and down Colombia looking for school buses for us to fly down there, find garages for us to rent out and convert on our own.
Oh,
We didn't end up,
okay.
we didn't end up going that route, but when we bought this school bus in Utah, it was semi-converted. It had one or two beds inside, wooden bunk beds. It had a kitchen sink, kitchen counter inside. It had a couch and a futon. It was actually two high school Mormons in Utah, 16-year-old kids who were about to go on their mission trip, who were selling their bus online. And I said, oh, no, these are the guys. I called them up. I flew out, and I got the vehicle.
Okay, perfect. So where is home for you? Where did you start the trip from? Was that from Utah, or did you take it from Utah and then wherever it is that you live and the rest of your team is?
So I'm from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. My co-host is from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. The rest of the team, we had Patrick Seymour. Patrick Seymour's from Malibu. We actually met Patrick through Reddit. We made a few posts on there because, like I said, a lot of things me and Daniel, my co-host, wanted to go out there and do. We're novices in. It wasn't our forte or background that we were getting into. So we put a post on Reddit about this incredible trip we had that we were planning to do. And we need some people editing, maybe doing some directing and production. And Patrick was planning on leaving, traveling for a year himself. But after 60 minutes of phone calls, he met us down in Costa Rica. And that's, we launched over from there to get to Colombia. And then Max is now on as a full-time producer for us. I met him backpacking Israel. And then remember December 27th, I got on the phone with him. And I was like, hey, Max, we really need a professional edge inside to what we're doing down here. Can you get down here by January 10th? And we're all looking to meet up again and continue the trip. And he dropped everything. And he bought a ticket the next day, and he met us down there on January 10th. He's been with us since.
That's great. So if I got the count right, there's 4 of you total. Is that right on the bus?
4 total, and we've had about 3 people working remote from India to Serbia. And, just helping us and get us going on our way.
Okay, cool. Now, one thing that I'm really super interested in, working as a digital nomad and producing a podcast on the show, tell us how that worked for you as you're overlanding in the school bus. In that, is that your source of income? How did that work for you?
So before we started the trip, Daniel and I really talked about this. We were both of ourselves planning and saving for how long this trip would go, how long it would take us to get through it, what were the potential costs, of fuel, places to stay, Airbnb, et cetera, et cetera. So we really, really did some proper logistics on that end on how we do that, and we actually decided to run a Kickstarter because we had this really great creative project. And when it comes to crowdfunding, Kickstarter for creativity is your way to go. So we ended up raising $14,000 on there. We raised $6,000 more at the end, so we had about $20,000 to take down to South America, to add into the building of the bus, to add into, Wi-Fi. We had a few Wi-Fi hotspots that gave us the capability of uploading some of our shows in hard to reach places that would not have service at all. And what else did we add in there? I mean, we had accommodations, for, not just ourselves, but these people that were going to be living and working with us on this bus. So, we built out a whole wooden desk inside. I sent you over pictures of that. It's a beautiful wooden desk. That's what we ended up building when we got to Colombia. The gentleman, Lewis, the guy in the Navy, set us up with a whole garage to build everything out. And
oh, nice.
So, all those funds right there really helped towards, going and solidifying and strengthening this bus. So when we got to Cartagena, we could make some final repairs, some final change-ups and builds, and we were ready to go.
Okay. Now, is that something that you would recommend to our listeners? I heard that one other time, instead of doing your build in the U.S., you can do that, like in your case, Colombia or in Mexico. Are there resources there? Are they going to save that much money to make that a worthwhile endeavor?
Like anything, you're going to save money doing anything outside the U.S. I'm not knocking the U.S. I love this country. I love this place. I think, we got really lucky with connecting with a guy like Lewis. who, set us up with a garage. We didn't actually, get any like vehicle modifications done in terms of, under the hood and in the engine. But, the fact that we were building and repairing, these guys were more than willing and ready to help us out in order to add the repairs that we wanted inside the bus. So, we added 2 more beds inside and added a bunch of wooden shelves. So I think it's really going to depend on your budget, on what you wanted to get done. And I think too that once you're down there, it's very hard to get some of these things repaired. Maybe even like inside, like the interior to even under the hood. So you're gonna have to weigh out your cost. You're gonna weigh out your time frame. I think a lot of people jump the gun on like how much time I need or how long is this thing gonna take to get fixed or repaired. And just using a lot of great services like iOverlander, that saved our ass. I can't tell you how many times. I'm finding, repair shops on, does this repair shop in this city have the parts I'm going to need? So if you map out your trip, whether it's 10,000 miles, 1,000 miles, and they have a repair shop in the place you're going to be, you're going to get your stuff done, being able to get taken care of wherever you are in the world.
Okay. And on the digital nomad, I know some of our listeners are digital nomads and some really want to kind of put that together. Anything else that you can add to that on your recommendations or insight how people can work as they're traveling as overlanders?
Absolutely. I mean, it's if you have Wi-Fi service, you have the power, not just the information of all the information we know on mankind up to this point that's in the palm of your hand, but you have the availability to connect to 3 to 4 billion potential clients and customers that exist right there at any time and at any moment. So, then it's up to you to become creative. And if you have Wi-Fi service, you don't even need Wi-Fi service, but if you can build basic business plan on what you want to do, and especially in today's day and age as digital nomad, we're all going out and doing what we want to do. We all don't want to go be living a sedentary, complacent life that some people might enjoy doing, but we want to go out and we want to explore, we want to get out there and do the thing. Now let's be creative. We're already out in these places. We're seeing in the real world what kind of services are missing, what kind of products need to be developed that aren't already developed, or how can we improve a product that's already out there that we can make better. So be creative. We're already the creative bunch. Let's find a way to take the things that we enjoy doing, the things that we see missing, and fill the marketplace up or fill the world up with the thing that we want to do.
Okay. Sounds good. You mentioned iOverlander. We had a past guest tell us that they were absolutely convinced that Google Maps was trying to kill them. What are your thoughts on Google Maps, iOverlander? What did you use? What did you find did not work for you in navigating your way to Chile?
I wish you could see the smile on my face, Chris. Google Maps will try and kill you. I don't know how many times we almost got run off cliffs, or got, of all things, like we're on like dirt roads that are going through people's like farms, and this is the place that Google's taking us to. And there's a main road right there. I think a huge thing is like Google will like literally try and save you time to go places, but it doesn't save you time in a school bus. It doesn't get you place faster. iOverlander is your way to go, and I think that because you're in South America or even Central America, I imagine, you're going to want to study up on the roads. And plenty of people have traveled these things already. So catching up on a blog that someone's gone on these things, or, local news or local media sources. Once we started researching that really helped us along the way in terms of like, oh, boy, this road is really bad right now. Our suspension's not great on the bus. We're going to be feeling any pebble or stone we come across. Let's take the 2 extra hours going the opposite route just so we get to the other place and we enjoy the ride.
Okay. And did you use anything else besides, obviously you learned early, hopefully, that Google Maps may not be your best resource, and you used obviously iOverlander. Anything else like Gaia GPS or any other mapping software programs you found worked for you?
We would still use Google Maps. We just really had to research on which road was best at that time. So, okay. Sometimes Google would not put that map up initially or that route that you wanted. But, it's a few Google searches that you're going to figure out, like, oh, wow, this road's closed right now. That's not going to be told to you on that map because that's not highlighted or updated. So once you do get, you get that research in, again, simple Google searches, a few blogs, Overlander, somebody's going to put up a little exclamation point saying road shut down, road closed, don't go this way, or watch out for a bribe. We were able to really able to take care of ourselves from that point on.
Okay, good. Now, Brandon, you're the man. So tell me, on the vehicle, I've had several people tell us, hey, you don't need four-wheel drive. Most of our guests are either taking a very large format type vehicle down there or like a Toyota 4x4 of some kind. You took a school bus. How did that go? How was a ride? Can somebody make it down there successfully? Or I guess obviously they can. What should they expect if they take a school bus or something that's not four-wheel drive?
I mean, if you're looking at technicalities, I mean, we have 6 wheels on that bus, so we're kind of four-wheel drive.
Okay,
but
yeah,
I wouldn't
good point.
I wouldn't necessarily say we meet the qualifications of a four-wheel drive. Some places, because I drove, I'd say 90 to 95% of this trip. I could take the bus on a road and I could say, I literally was able to start looking down at the road and say, it's pretty smooth. I can get away with this here because, you're in the Bolivian Altiplano and there's nothing up there. There's no roads, there's no lines, there's nothing. And, we still got this bus stuck in some places. So, I mean, you're going to want to have four-wheel drive. You're going to want to have, even if it's not four-wheel drive, something with, we got a Caterpillar 3126 engines with 7.3 liter turbocharged diesel. So if we did get some stuck place, we didn't need a lot to get out.
Okay. And we hear a lot about the importance of connecting with the local people. What was your experience there? Was that like a big part of your trip and experience, or was it just simply getting to the destination?
I mean, our whole mantra, on the bus is the connections and collaborations. And we wanted to, share conversations with outliers and early adopters. And, now that we're heading to South America, we wanted to connect with those people that were there doing all those things. So that was a huge thing. I think Overlander really helped us to do that because we were able to, literally go and stay in people's houses sometimes. Find people out in the middle of nowhere or, outside of town in a farm, and we're staying on a trout farm. So I mean, that was not a problem or issue at all.
So tell us about one of your favorite experiences with some of the locals and maybe something that you did with them.
Oh man, I'd say for me it might happen to be in La Paz, Bolivia. So La Paz, Bolivia, it's a tough place to live. I'll just keep it at that. One of the most dangerous driving cities in the world. Their elevation's 12,000 feet, maybe even 14. It's rough. It's not a very impoverished place as well. So I heard a story on Last Week Tonight with John Oliver about the Bolivian traffic zebras. And I was, okay, when we get down there, we got to take part in this thing. We got to get dressed up in the zebra mascot outfits, and we got to run around town with these guys. And once we got down,
that's where the zebra outfit came from.
Yes. So
okay, good.
Once we found out about like what this program actually is, it's not just to keep kids off the streets kind of thing, prevention thing. Hey, if these kids aren't here, if they're out, these kids are between the ages 16 to 26, but they all discover this fondness and appreciation for their city, for their country, and so there's a bit of a mix of theatrical training that they do with them, a little teaching. But I mean, these kids were some of the most articulate and well-spoken people I met on the trip. And, what they were looking to do and how they spoke about their city in the end and how they want to change their city, from simply injecting a little bit of positivity, whether it's having someone to pick up their trash off the street, whether it's helping somebody cross the road, giving a little kid a hug. These were 16-year-olds who were just really inspired and looking to inspire people on an everyday basis. And, when we got to go dress up in the outfits and run around town with them, I mean, you really got to know, what a city or what an area means to somebody.
Okay. So you guys are chilling in this big bus, a lot more room than most of our guests with a rooftop tent. Did you ever find the need to escape the bus?
Absolutely. I mean, we were in tight, close-knit corners a lot together.
With 4 guys, right?
4 guys. I mean, some nights we even slept up to 8 people in there just because we'd pick up some hitchhikers, we'd pick up some people in this town, people traveling along the way, and we'd say, hey, come along. throw some gas money and you're on the bus. I think even in some places we even told them, like, hey, just pretend you're our hair and makeup. We're going to go do a video shoot at this Pisco winery. We're going to do a whole video shoot with them. You're hair and makeup. Just say you're a cameraman and we'll be good to go.
Okay, perfect.
And they came along with us. But, yeah, I mean, once you're, especially with the working environment, for those digital nomads, you're working with the person that you're also living with, a lot more pressure gets added on and gets thrown on top of, everything that you're already doing. And, I'd say it's trying to find the balance of really appreciating what you're doing. I think as a digital nomad, you really lose sight of a lot of the great things and crazy things that are happening all around you, mixed in with that you're traveling, exploring. So I think, for me, I got all the way to Korea and Japan, but I had that 2-week trip planned out already, way 5 or 6 months ahead of time. But I had to get away myself.
Okay. So, Brandon, what was the biggest challenge you faced during your trip?
Ooh, that's a good one. Biggest challenge. They varied. They varied so much, Chris. From the physical, getting my toe lacerated really bad and getting a bacteria and fungal infection. And, at that point it was just like, no, you need to slow down. You just need to not move, stay in bed, no work, no adventures, no exploring, just rest. We were in Cusco for about a month during that time, just trying to recuperate and get better. I think my co-host had salmonella and 2 parasites at that time.
Wow.
So on the physical end, I mean, there were many. And, on the mental, emotional, and on those sides, it was, trying to juggle a relationship, with a significant other back in the States. And, it almost seemed like, driving the bus and getting it for A to B was the easiest points at sometimes because, we had a great vehicle and, we never broke down. We never had any mechanical issues that happened with that bus.
Okay. So border crossings, let's talk about that a little bit. What tips would you give our listeners in crossing international borders and preparing for them?
This is very important, especially if you have a very, very light and white complexion.
So, Lisa, you weren't there for the interview.
I know.
You just heard the interview.
I was bummed.
What did you think?
I'm speechless. Like a school bus? They took a school bus down to Chile.
Full-size school bus. It wasn't the short bus.
Oh, no, I'm sure Brandon would never take the short bus. But going, 10 months, 10,000 miles?
Yeah.
In a school bus.
Yeah, pretty crazy. And I think it was inspiring to me. All I could think about is our desire is basically to do the same thing, minus the school bus, but to do overlanding and then take our show on the road just like they did and interview other overlanders, but also start to interview other people, learning about their cultures and passing that on to our listeners to hopefully inspire them to go do these trips. And a lot of people just don't have the ability for one reason or another to do the trip. And they can live vicariously through us.
Yes.
So it was really inspiring to me. It got me pretty pumped up. I thought it was a lot of fun. And Brandon's doing something completely different than what most of our other guests or what most people would consider overlanders to be doing. So I love bringing that diversity.
Absolutely. I have the advantage of listening to episode 2 already. And
yeah, you cheated.
Yeah. Seat clincher, like some of the roads. Yeah.
So for part 2, next Thursday, you're going to want a 5-point harness. Let's leave it at that.
You can find the show notes for this episode at ghteoverland.com/podcasts. Just click on the picture titled On the Bus Podcast.
We'd love it if you'd connect with us on social media at GHT Overland and share the episode with any of your friends who love adventure and travel off the beaten path.
Overland travel is all about meeting new friends, seeing the most amazing places on earth, and of course, new food and new drinks.
We'd love to hear from you, so drop us an email at ghteoverlandpodcast@gmail.com.
Do you have a favorite drink or food recipe for overlanding? We'd love to feature you and it. Send them to ghteoverlandpodcast@gmail.com. Before you race off, it would mean the world to us if you rate and review the podcast. Give GHT Overland a little podcast love. Over on iTunes especially, so we could reach as many overlanders as possible. Thank you, and we will see you next Thursday for part 2 with Brandon. Bye.